Hey guys, it's me Rebecca. So this will be the start of another weekly vlog, and so for today I've just done some cleaning. I'm currently washing the curtains, as you can see behind me, and yeah, and I did do some reading. If you saw my last vlog, I was reading Human Rights by Juno Dawson. I believe I ended that one around page 126, I want to say. I I didn't give like an update in that video, my bad, but yeah, I did do some reading last night and today, and I definitely am enjoying this one a lot. Like, I'm just having fun with this series. I would say there's a couple intense moments, especially when we're in battle. Like, you can feel the tension that's occurring, and yeah, and something I like about this particular edition, particular, book. I was trying to think of another word, but it slipped from my mind. Is Naomi. I need to remember to look up how to pronounce that name, but she keeps pointing out almost the outdated ways of the coven, especially in the way after she, as high priestess, has to dress for certain occasions and put on a robe and whatnot. She said, I might as well put on a pointy hat. And during the trials of Kara and Luke, for Kara, with what she did, her punishment would be execution by fire. And Naomi's pointing out that things should probably change, and certain witches in the coven like, it's tradition. I do like how Naomi says tradition is just an excuse to keep things the way they are, and she doesn't have an idea of how things should change or what changes should be made, but she does know that things need to be more up to date, and there has to be a start somewhere. And during this, Kira makes she reveals something for Naomi, and during the war, let me backtrack. I'm sorry. I keep thinking I'm continuing on from vlogs, and I need to remember that not everyone watches the previous vlog. But the first book starts a decade after the witches fought a war with the warlocks and had to fight one powerful warlock named Dabney Hale, I believe that was his name. And he had Naomi kill, not Naomi, Hera kill Naomi, and Hera couldn't do that, or couldn't bring herself to do that, so she killed Conrad, who was Naomi's fiance. Except Kara didn't do that. She cast this illusion of Conrad's dead body in Naomi's living room and erased his memories of Naomi and of the witches, and put him somewhere in Wales where he got to shore, and he was labeled as this John Doe by the media, and Kira casted his spell on everyone to prevent them from seeing this certain piece of news. And you see how Kira, Leonie, and Naomi, they go up to Wales to try and find him, and they do, except he's made a new life of himself with his identity. He has forgotten, he does know he's forgotten his own life before, and he's moving on, and he has moved on. He now has a wife and kids, which makes things a lot difficult for Naomi. And at one point, she does go back to Wales to try, because she was told that if she was to tell him the truth, and the truth does hold a lot of power, then he will remember. And yet she couldn't bring herself to do so because it wouldn't be fair to the wife, it wouldn't be fair to his kids, it wouldn't be fair for him because he has built this life for himself in the past decade, and it's not fair for her to want to tear it apart. And seeing as she decides that it's just heartbreaking because a piece of her still does love him, and she wishes she could move on from this revelation. And she just asks Leonie to erase her memories of him, and Leonie's like, no, I'm not gonna do that. You thought he was dead for a decade. You have moved on, and as well, with what happened and what you've been through, it's made you stronger. It's made you a stronger person, a stronger witch. And when she thought he was dead, she did move on him, and she was with Luke, and she was happy with him. So there is that. And Naomi, she's still dealing with this shadow, and she did get confirmation from Lucifer that she did bring it back, that it was Leviathan, and it was all part of a plan that's been in the works for years, this entire time actually. That you would have Naomi kill Kara, and then why do I keep getting them mixed up? You would have Kara kill Naomi and then trick Theo into bringing Naomi back, and then in a sense because of what the witches did with Leviathan, which is put him in a place like in death. He was able to hitch a ride and he's back on Earth. So there's that, and Naomi is afraid, and she later in the novel asks Kara to kill her again, hoping, thinking that maybe it would also get rid of this shadow following her around. And Kara doesn't do that, and not as the two are arguing, and someone mentions something about the cottage, and I'll get back to that later. When we see how Al, Leonie, and Naomi and Theo, they learn that Al's daughter Holly is an article, someone who is able to tell the future and see the future, and she is able to do that through drawings. One drawing does show that Leviathan were wise, and this is confirmed by a witch who Leonie thought was dead, comes from I'm sorry if I butchered that, which is a sacred place for the witches' god of Gaia, and tells them that Leviathan has risen in this war that's been more of a concept to them, is actually happening now. It's now a fight with the devil versus witches, and the witches trying to protect humanity. So I'm very much curious on how that will end, because the most powerful demon in a bunch against it is mentioned that there's only powerful witches, and the powerful witches left is about 200. So yeah, but through all this we see Lucifer trying to get Theo, initially convince her to allow him to use her as his vessel by showing her the future where nature takes over and men are no longer around. She says no, keeps denying him, and he has enough, and he says that he will force her hand by killing everyone she loves until she says yes. And later on in the novel, while Leonie, Naomi, Al, and Hera and Luke are at the headquarters to discuss a prison break organized by Bialy, who is possessing Helena's daughter, Snow. Holly and Theo are at a cottage when Snow arrives and destroys the cottage. Lucifer shows up, kills Snow, and is about to kill Holly when he gives that offer one last time to Theo, and she accepts, and that is where I stopped, because that was the end of, I think it was part 1. And yeah, so far I'm definitely enjoying this, like I said. I'm definitely enjoying the tension in this, the worries that all of the characters have, how Naomi worries that this shadow will just hurt people she loves, how Theo Theo continues to feel like she's a burden because of this, I guess, reputation, or the fact she was part of this prophecy of the sorry child, and worries of that prophecy becoming true. And I'm just curious to see how all of the others react to Lucifer taking over Theo's body and what will become of that. So the emotions of the characters and what they're going through. And yeah, and I would have to say there are pop references in here, and it's just sometimes they do feel a bit out of place. It's just like Juno Dawson just throwing them in there just because I don't really know anyone who's talks like that. Like, one of the characters mentions I think it was like Beyonce line, and the other one said, okay, Beyonce, but like maybe that's how women who talk sometimes, but or people I should say talk sometimes, but yeah, I don't think I mentioned pop references just in casual conversation or random sentences, so yeah, I do like seeing how different people are coming together and different groups are coming together to stop this one evil. And as Leonie did mention in an earlier scene that there will be no Black Lives Matter or queer lives or anything if Lucifer is successful in eliminating everyone in the scene. We all have this common evil that we need to defeat in order to continue living, in order to survive, and it's like that. So yeah, I think that's all for now. So I'll see you next. So it's the next day, and so far I've just done some cleaning and whatnot. I did just cut the grass, and yeah, and I did do quite a bit of reading of Human Rights, putting me on page 310, and I'm definitely enjoying this a lot. You see throughout this section how Lucifer hasn't possessed Theo yet, but is taking her to a cave, and he's expressing his disdain, his hatred for humanity, how they destroyed the earth with all their plastic and fast fashion. And honestly, I don't blame him. When I was reading the quote, I was like, yeah. I honestly kind of just want to read it to you. I'm not gonna lie. It's on page 235, and it's this. Lucifer continued his trade, spittle flying from his lips. Humanity is an appalling virus. I wouldn't want them anywhere near my creation. In thus a few hundred short years, a blink of an eye to us, they've armored, I cannot say it because of YouTube, the planet over and over until it's a dying husk. Why? Because they like big cars and cheap flights? They like flimsy garments that cost a pittance and they wear once, and this obsession with plastic, water, grain, food, there's nothing they won't wrap in it. They like making rooms colder and gardens warmer. And yeah, I understand. And he plans to be reunited with his brothers and put an end to it, so. And we see with the others, they're on and Naomi, with everything she's gone through, like, her home has been burned down, and with what she's been through, she's not okay at all. And we see how she was comforted by Luke, and she can't forgive him for what he did. He did lie to her, he did deceive her, and well, he was supposed to kill her and he didn't. And she takes a look at his past and how his father lied to him about his mother leaving them when the father killed her, and what he did when he learned the truth. And Naomi gives him the option, like, she can make him forget about her, and he says no. And the others, they see Gaia's story and her plan for humanity, how she had to fight her siblings, the demons, to protect her creations, how women fought demons previously, and while over 1,000 of them died, the demons were still defeated. And the issue with that, however, is that that doesn't bring hope to the others, because on the island there's only 200 plus witches there, so yeah, and they learned there was a blade that could kill Satanus, and that it is missing or destroyed, so they do need to find it. And we see how Ao is starting to heal after everything that has happened to her, and she knows that Leonie's brother Wadley, he was attracted to her when they were in school, and she didn't pursue that because she thought, oh, that's so uncool, someone younger than me? No, but he's still attracted to her, and she wants to move on, but she tells him she has to find herself again after being manipulated by Lucifer and learning of her husband's affair. He accepts that. And we see how Holly has a vision, and she draws the five women standing under the sun, and they know that it is them, and that the fifth was supposed to be Helena, and with everything, it was done purposely, so one of them would be no longer in the picture, and this was prophesied apparently, and it shows they are Gala's most precious of daughters, the chosen ones. Even they didn't choose to be the chosen ones. They didn't choose the magic to flow through them, but they did choose to take the oath when they had the option. So I don't know. I don't like that, as they didn't choose to pursue witchcraft when they could have chosen to pretend that part of them didn't exist and that they were normal people. And they go to this cave to start a ritual to recover the Song of Solomon from the past. When Lucifer, he knows they're gonna try and do this, and he tries to delay them by raising this army of the dead from the sea, and it's really just every corpse that have been buried in the water, and that's just something I just thought was really interesting in a very, I don't know, unique way, because who knows how many people are buried at sea, and yeah. I just thought it was quite different. I don't know, I've never read that one before. And we see how Luke and Trinara, they stay to fight while the others went to the cave and start a ritual. And they become connected and see each other's memories, and that is why they were chosen to go through this prophecy, because of their closeness with one another. They grew up as the closest of friends, and Naomi and Clara were extremely close as siblings, I guess, or as close as siblings can be. So it's just, they are connected, and they care extremely much for one another. They rely on each other. They're almost all of them are sisters. It shows the closeness of their friendship, which I think was very beautiful. And they end up in India or Africa, and not finding it there, they continue on. They do lose Naomi, and she ends up, initially on the day she met Luke, and she sees that she has this opportunity to alter the past to where he didn't become a part of her life, and but she realized how connected in all of this he is. And later, she ends up at the hospital where she and Clara were taken when her parents died in an accident, and she comforts a younger Clara. And that scene was also very beautiful. But the others end up where the crown was discovered. Finding it's not there, they realize that they're the ones who put it there when all of this is done. And again, they travel, and this time they lose Al, who ends up in the hospital where she lost her baby, and talks to herself and tries to make her stronger and kind of move on from this room. Let's just say losing her baby is part of what caused her to be manipulated, or not caused, but her memories were altered, I'm just gonna say. And Leonie and Kara end up in Solomon and learn who Sheba was. And it is someone they know quite well, and she has a revelation for Leonie on who her baby becomes. And apparently this is all of a part of a plan that was conjured up, and events are repeating themselves in circles of someone. In essence, Sheba was told by the others that this must occur, and then it's like a spiral, something that continues on, and so far I'm definitely liking that. And yeah, definitely have to say I'm definitely enjoying my time and intrigued to see how this all ends and who will survive. Is because we had something happen to one of our love interests, and their partner, I guess, is aware of this, and they have to go back to help this person. So I'm intrigued if that person survives. I'm just intrigued to see if the 4 other women survive this novel as well. But yeah, I think that's over now. So it's the next day, and I did go out today. I had to take my father to an appointment. This is standard appointment. And while I was waiting for him in as well this morning, I did do quite a bit of reading of human rights, and I have since finished it. And I just had a lot of fun with this series. I definitely enjoyed the battle scenes and how Lucifer used memories, I guess, to inflict most amount of pain and damage to the women. As well, seeing their connection, their friendship, and as well how they have to heal from their past, how not move on, but allow what happened to the past to not affect their future and what they're going through currently, and as well just allow themselves to heal after everything they've been through. And overall, I just really enjoyed the series. And we see with Naomi, she travels to when Theo's birth mother tried to kill her, and she learns that Lucifer sent a demon, Asmodeus, to seduce this woman, and he took the form of the woman's, really girl, because she was like 22 or something, extremely young, her stepfather, and had her have this baby, something she regrets, as she knows it would mean it would be the end of humanity, and that's why she wanted to kill the baby, to save humanity. But Naomi was able to talk her out of it. However, the woman did kill herself, and Naomi was the one who took the baby to the Glasgow City Council and left her there, even though she wanted to protect this baby that would become Theo, from what was to come. However, through this whole time traveling thing, Naomi and the others, they're not sure if they do something, if they interfere, what would that mean for the future, if that would change things or what. So they just have to allow things to play out the way they were supposed to, the way they did, and they just have to let it happen. And Elle is taken to a future that is quite dystopian and a version of Holy Toast, or this is what happens when a witches win, and that Elle's like a very powerful witch. I don't know if this is Lucifer trying to stop them, and he traps her in this version to get her out of his way. And Kiara ends up in the past when a powerful oracle named Annie is about to be killed, and she goes to headquarters to get the dagger. Lucifer tries to stop her from going back by releasing this monkey creature some warlock put his soul into to try and be immortal. And then Leonie ends up back in the present, and she sees Chiana has been injured and tries to heal her. However, Lucifer took her brother and is making her choose. And she won't, and he wildly off a side of the cliff. And Leonie, with the power of the baby, is able to rescue Naomi, Al, and Clara from the past, and as well catch her brother before he hits the ground. She has the others heal Chiara, and we see how Lucifer has taken over Theo's body and has her walking on water to the island where he calls his brothers and they unite. And that's really when the end of the road starts. Theo is stuck in this cave in her mind when she hears the voice of Gala encouraging her to fight back, and she does before realizing she might need to die in order to stop this. Something Lucifer doesn't allow to occur. And yeah, we see how Naomi, she wants to save Theo, but she also has to save the rest of humanity, and if killing Theo means the rest of humanity lives, yeah, that's not an easy choice. And Naomi, she is considering being selfish and save Theo, but throughout the novel and throughout the series we see how she has many opportunities to be selfish, and yet she chooses continuously to be selfless. I think it's something to do with the fact, no, I know it's something to do with the fact she is a vet and she wants to save lives of every creature on Earth. So yeah, she chooses humanity over this one singular person who has become family to her. And we see how Leonie, she ends up going into labor in the worst possible moment, as the others have to go to this cave to fight Satanist. And she and Shannara stay behind, and they know in order for things to play out the way they did, they must go back in time to give birth to the daughter. And they stay on Ai while the daughter grows up, and we see their life on Ai, how the relationship changes and they grow and catch up to the present. They spend 22 years away, while for the others it's been maybe a few minutes. So yeah, that must be like a shock, or not shock, but weird for Al and the others who are on the island to get back onto the island. And then there's Naomi looking 22 years older, like, yeah. And when Naomi isn't able to fight Satanist, Kara steps in, and in a way, this is part of her healing journey, healing from her past and forgiving those who have hurt her, forgiving herself for what she's done. And that whole reflection was quite beautiful. I really liked that, and it's almost redemptive of her. And she gives herself over to Satanist as a willing vessel to save Theo. Satanist takes him and Naomi to this local fair in Galway, where she and Clara went every other weekend with their parents, and he makes Naomi watch as he destroys this fair, something that's reminiscent of her childhood, something she connects with her childhood, to her innocence, and that is where the fight occurs. And Kara is able to speak to Naomi through their mind, and Kara has Naomi stab her in the chest with the dagger, as the dagger was made in Ireland, and that's where they are. so it's not the most powerful, and by doing that, she also kills Kara and Naomi's, and I wanted more time. Yeah. And now has the responsibility of killing the last brother while it poses as her son. Which he does, so that's probably a bit of, I don't know, healing for Al, her letting go of what happened. Not what happened, but her starting to heal after what happened. Yes. We see the aftermath, how changes are occurring in the coven, so that it is less of this singular unit, but more of a proper union that is free from the government. And we also see how the characters are growing and life continues on. And yeah, it was all very beautiful. And we see Carol's afterlife. How she made a heaven for herself and a hell for Lucifer. And I was like, but yeah, overall I enjoyed that book and this series. And yeah. And the next book I'm gonna start. I'm just gonna give the synopsis now, as it is a hardcover and I usually take dust jackets off, and I will be keeping the dust jacket for this one in my bedroom, and yeah, it's just me being lazy. But what I'm reading next is We Came to Welcome You by Vincent Terradillo. I don't know how to pronounce that last name. But this is about Zoe Reyes has had a rough year. After a series of workplace incidents at her university lab culminates in a plagiarism accusation, Zoe is put on probation. Dutiful visits to her homophobic father aren't helping her mental health, and she finds her nightly glass of wine becoming more of an all-day and all-bottle event. Her wife, Alice Song, is far more optimistic. After all, the two finally managed to buy a house in a beautiful gated community of Mainless Grove. However, the neighbors are a little too friendly, in Zoe's opinion. She has no interest in a pushy homeowner association, their bizarrely detailed contract, or their never-ending microaggressions. But Alice simply attributes their pursuit to the community motto, investing in neighborly spirit, which only serves to irritate some more. However, strange occurrences, doors and stairs disappearing, woods growing inside the house, cause Zoe to wonder if her social paranoia isn't built something more sinister. Yet Zoe's fears are dismissed as Alice embraces their new home and becoming increasingly worried instead about Zoe's shrinking and manic behavior. When Zoe finds a journal on the property from a resident that went missing a few years ago, she realizes why they were able to buy the house so easily. So yeah, I'm very much intrigued about that. And I think that's all for now. So see you. So it's the next day, and so far I haven't really done much today. It's just been an off day for me. I woke up with a headache, and yeah, I've just been tired all day. Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but hopefully I will feel better tomorrow. And I don't know, maybe that's a weird day. I don't know why, but I did do some reading of We Came to Welcome You, and I'm on page 80, and I would say so far this novel, especially the neighborhood someone else moved to, is quite strange. Like, a lot of strange things have been occurring. You start the novel with someone else on moving day as they are following the van to the gated community, and so I was about to say Alice, but Alice is her wife. And so kind of help but notice that all of the houses look exactly the same. They all have the exact same birch tree in front, and everything looks a bit too perfect and sameness, I guess, except their house, which has cause that's not been taken care of in a while. It's a bit worn down, and we see how she has some anxiety, generalized anxiety, and it looks like there's been tension between her and her wife. And we see that tension especially over So's drinking, and also with So being on probation from work. She's at home all day, and yeah, she's worried that Alice might, with certain looks and gestures, might be a bit passive aggressive towards her, and we do see key moments, funny moments between them when they seem extremely close. Like, I can feel their relationship, and they just seem like best friends who've gotten married. Like, they are just close. And we also see how they are quite different in a sense. Alice seems to be more of an optimistic person, while So is more pessimistic. Alice is more of the social butterfly, talking to the neighbors during conversations, while So is quite introverted. And we see how the neighbors come over to welcome them in. Yeah, that doesn't start the best. They heard that one of the new neighbors is someone who works at Yale, and they assume that Alice, who is Korean, is the one who's working at Yale, and I don't know, they kind of wrap their hands around the fact it's actually So who is I think she describes herself as Afro-Latina. Her family is from the Dominican Republic. They kind of wrap it that it is her who works at Yale, so that's not the best start. And So is aware of the fact she has to appear to be not aggressive because of stereotypes, and the neighbors also kind of wrap their heads around the fact that they each kept their surname when they married. It in. Alice didn't take So's name, So didn't take Alice's name. They didn't hyphen their names. Alice is Alison, So is Soways, and yeah, for Alice it was more of a traditional thing, as Korean women typically don't do that, and for So it was about seeing the doctor in front of her last name. That is what made her do that. And we see how they try to pressure them into joining the homeowner association, and there is a contract which both of them is this. They both find it ridiculous, the rules, and they want independence, and so yeah, and we see So's drinking problem and how it is causing issues between her and Alice. Alice is just very much worried about her, and So can be a bit defensive at times. And there's one scene later on in the novel where things kind of got out of hand with, and it wasn't a physical fight, but some words that were exchanged where I was like, you don't say that to your partner. So yeah, and while they are having a celebratory drink from a butterfly that the neighbors gave them, the first strange happening occurs when the lights suddenly turn off, which is quite odd. And even before that, So was taking some papers to the basement when she was hearing this noise. So we see the first hints of something odd is occurring, and we see how during this party that the neighbors are hosting, they claim it's last minute, but they've been planning for a while, and it's just almost an ambush for them. But So is developing some sort of allergy, which she thinks is weird since it's the middle of summer. And there was something a neighbor, Coraline, says that she'll get used to it. The way she phrased it, it just seems like something is being pumped into the air, and yeah, you just get used to this feeling. It's like, I don't know, maybe it is to make them a part of the association, or not association, but part of the gated community. Because we see that the children, they don't behave like normal children. They're completely silent when they're playing. They don't make any noise, and they just act like complete angels. In the way it's described, it doesn't sound like normal children. It seems like, I don't know, children who are taught to behave the way they were doing it. For So, who did have a religious upbringing, a very strict religious upbringing, the whole neighborhood, the whole homeowner association, this whole gated community stuff is reminding her of her upbringing in a sense. Everyone has eyes on her, and they are ready to snitch on her mother the second they get a hint that something is fishy and weird and not normal. And yeah, I can definitely see that. And later, so she sees some sort of creature in a vent, and she invites Coraline into the house for tea after the two go on a walk, and a step just disappears, causing Coraline to fall, and that step reappears, which is very odd. And yeah, plot-wise, there's a lot of really weird things happening, and the neighborhood is just given weird vibes to me. And we learn So's parents, they never accepted her sexuality or Alice. Her father was upset with her for bringing Alice to her mother's wake, and he did say some things that, Alice tried to write it off. Oh, he was grieving. Even if you're grieving, you don't say that to your only child. And Alice's parents, they seem more accepting of So and of the daughter's sexuality. And we do learn how So and Alice met, that they were roommates in college, and that seemed cute. And we also learn of So's suspension, how this new colleague sabotaged her experiments and took her reports before the plagiarism accusation came to me. And during the welcome party, she receives an email informing her that things aren't looking good. It seems like this newcomer has taken advantage of her absence to make things worse for her and to make himself look better. So yeah, I'm just curious on how that will play out. I'm hoping that things do get better for So, but not really, not with the next few hundred pages. So you'll see. But I can imagine with everything, and her relationship with Alice will probably take a bit of a negative turn. I fear this, because it seems that's just how it always is with. So, seeing Steph and Alice fighting get off to her drinking issue, and just fear things might take a turn for the worse extremely quickly. But so far, I am definitely intrigued about what the hell is going on in this neighborhood. Because things are just quite strange, and I mean, for So, it's not normal in a sense. They feel safe enough to leave their doors unlocked and leave their curtains wide open. They don't seem to value privacy at all, whereas So does, and it seems like another neighbor, the Kennedys, do by closing their curtains. So yeah, I'm just intrigued to see where things go, and yeah, I think that's all for now. So it's the next day, and as you saw, I did go out today There was this tag sale event being hosted in a nearby town that I just checked out, and yeah, a lot of interesting stuff. It was called Granny's Attic to sell, and yeah, I can see where the name comes from because I think a lot of this stuff is just really stuffy fun in Grandma's attic. Yeah, I just bought a couple baskets and yeah, nothing really interesting. And I did do some reading. I didn't do a lot of reading of We Came Home from You, and I'm on page 148. I don't know why I'm holding up the book when there's no dust jacket. And so far, I would say I am curious on what is happening. I don't know if I feel connected to the story. No, I don't know if it's because yesterday I wasn't feeling well, and today I did do something in the morning and did something when I got back when I was quite tired. So I don't know if that's like affected my experience, but yeah. But we do learn the reason So keeps visiting her father, even though he is homophobic. He doesn't treat Alice well. How? He doesn't even acknowledge Alice as a person. He's just like, how's the girl? He won't even call her name. And the fact that seem to always be arguing, he's always trying to nitpick everything she's doing, and start confrontations, and say, why are you allowing yourself to still visit this person who isn't the best for you? Like, she is in a therapy session, and the therapist does say a lot of people who are in the LGBT community who don't have accepting parents, a lot of them do typically cut off their relationships with their parents, but so things, in a way, it's payment, or that she owes him this for the fact that when her mother sees a picture of her on Facebook at some LGBT thing, I think it was a club event at Yale, and then finds a rainbow pin in So's room, and she doesn't get that confirmation or that So is gay. She just asks if So is lesbian, and her silence was the answer. But her mother went after her with a knife, tried to kill her. I don't think. I still cannot fathom how someone can be so homophobic that they would hate their own child. Or like, I swear that this breaks my heart, really. But the thing is, So's father got in the way and prevented So's mother from killing her. She did. She was able to nick So an arm, and her father took her to the hospital. So there's that, and So claims it's a Dominican thing, the reason she keeps visiting him. And like for Alice not wanting to even talk about the thought of ghosts is a Korean thing, and that is a line in a novel that Alice does suspicions. So yeah, she cannot talk to her wife about that, and yeah, it's respectful, no opinion. And yeah, there was something else I wanted to say, but I got distracted. And when she and Alice go to visit Coraline in a hospital, Coraline starts talking about being wary of neighbors and the past when Nadaline, who is a friend of Alice, a neighbor of theirs, and the head of the homeowner association, touches her shoulder and she shuts down. I don't know, so I was already wary of the neighbors, especially of Veronica, a girl who gives off this horrid scent and is quiet and goes to places by herself. And it seems like no one is home, like, even though there is a car in the driveway. Like, it just seems like So has the camera pointed at the house trying to capture some movement and she doesn't see any. It's a bit odd. And one day she's coming home from having lunch with her friend when she gets information about the fact that the HR department was told to make women in the schedule for interviews in the biology department, and so it's worried that it's about her position and she's already been fired. But she's driving home extremely fast to go into the basement to look at her papers to see if there's any evidence that she didn't plagiarize, that the accusations are false, when Veronica just stops in the middle of the road. And so upset with this, because this is so incredibly irresponsible for parents that don't care. Goes to her house, and she knocks on the door, rings the doorbell, no one's answering. She knows someone's home because there's the car in the driveway, and she does smell. She gets up from Veronica, so it's much stronger at the house, and she goes to a window and she sees two bodies hanging. The thing is, later she goes to paramedics and whatnot when Nadaline shows up and starts laughing and saying there's a misunderstanding. The paramedics are going to the house. There are no bodies. And it's like, is So going crazy, or has she lost it? Because there were bodies there, but... And Veronica says something about they were in the woods, and who is they? How is Nadaline involved? Is it due to the fact she's the head of the homeowner association? Like, what the hell is going on? But poor So, I can sense this, afraid she's losing her mind, seeing stuff that's not there, even though she knows it's there. Like, she's trying to find the previous owners of the house. She's currently in trying to find some answers if they went through something similar, or what caused them to be driven away from the community, because it is a nice community otherwise, besides the strangeness. And yeah, and I do have to say, with the fact Alice has also been changing. Initially she's coming home late at night, she's more withdrawn from So, in a way it was described in the novel, it's almost like Alice is having an affair, and I don't think that's the case, but I fear it's more that she's being brainwashed, I guess, and being affected by whatever is going on in the rest of the community, and then it will be the So one to deal with all of this stuff. And yeah, it does seem like Alice is worried about her promotion, about not getting it, but a bit more than that. But yeah, I would say I'm just finding the whole thing odd and strange, and I'm wondering what is going on with this community. So yeah, and yeah, I think that's all for now. So it's the next day, and it was quite another hot day. And as you saw, I did go out today. I went out earlier this morning. The book sale started around 9 before it got too hot, which, goodness gracious. But yeah, I did go to a book sale where I did get 4 books. The first, I don't know how this happened, but the first was The Reformatory by Tiana Ray. Oh my god. Wait, do I? Should probably have looked up a pronunciation for this name, so I'm so sorry if I mispronounced it. But somehow this cover just got a bit messed up in the back. I don't know, but this is about 12-year-old Wabi Stevens Jr., who is sentenced to 6 months At the Gracetown School for Boys, an institution for kicking the son of the largest landowner in town in defense of his older sister Gloria. So begins Wabi's journey further into the terrors of the Jim Crow South and the very real horror of the school they call the reformatory. Wabi has a talent for seeing ghosts or things, but what was once a comfort to him after the loss of his mother has become a window into the truth of what happens at the reformatory. Boys forced to work and to remediate their so-called crimes have gone missing. But the Heinz Wabi sees hints at worse things. Through his friends Redbone and Blue, Wabi is learning not just the most but how to survive. Meanwhile, Gloria is rallying every family member in connection in Florida to find a way to get Wabi out of there before it's too late. I'm very much interested in that one. Why do I say that? I'm interested in all of these books. Why would I have gotten them otherwise? But next I got Silver Nitrate by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. And this is about Montserrat has always been overlooked. She's a talented sound editor, but she's left out of the boys' club running the film industry in 90s Mexico City. And she's all but invisible to her best friend Tristan. I cannot talk, I'm so sorry. A charming if faded soap opera star who she's been in love with him since childhood. Then Tristan discovers his new neighbor is the cold horror director Abel Hirata, and the legendary author claims that he can change their lives even if his tale of a Nazi imbuing magic into a highly volatile silver nitrate stock sounds like sheer fantasy. The magic film was never finished, which is why Hirata swears his career vanished overnight. He is cursed. Now the director wants Montserrat and Tristan to help him shoot the missing scene and lift the curse. But Montserrat soon notices a dark presence following her, and Tristan begins seeing the ghost of his ex-girlfriend. As they work together to unravel the mystery of the film and the obscure occultist who once roamed their city, Montserrat and Tristan may find that sorcerers and magic are not the only stuff of movies. Yeah. And then I got Utopia Avenue by David Mitchell, which is about this band that was the strangest British band you've ever heard of, emerging from London's psychedelic scene in 1967, fronted by folk singer Alf Holloway, blues bassist Dean Moss, and guitarist Ferretzo. Jasper Desert, Utopia Avenue embarked on a metric journey from the seedy clubs of Soho to a TV debut on Top of the Pops. The cusp of chart success, Gloria in Amsterdam, prison in Rome, and a fateful American sojourn in the Chelsea Hotel, Laurel Canyon in San Francisco during the autumn of 1968. The novel tells the unexpunged story of the band's turbulent life in times of fame's fruition, pack and stardom's Wabi ladder of the families we choose and the ones we don't, our voices in the head and the truths that and lies they whisper of music, madness, and idealism. So, and lastly, the last book I got was The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, which is about this woman who, she is a witch, but witches are not allowed to be in the same area for a long period of time, otherwise they will draw the attention of non-witches. So she's very much alone. She was an orphan and she was raised by this mysterious person. not mysterious, but she's just always been alone with by strangers, and she's used to being alone and following the rules. And she posts videos online pretending she's a witch. And one day, someone comments and asks to help as begging her to travel to the remote and mysterious nowhere house to teach 3 young women how to control their magic. It's against the rules, but she goes anyway, and along the way she teaches these girls. And there is a librarian who seems he doesn't want her there, but the two get together. So and as well, I did go for a nice walk before it got too hot, and just did my grocery shopping. Where is this so hot and dry? I swear I'm not built for this weather. And before all that, this morning before I left, I did do some reading of We Came to You put me on page 212 and on part 2. And I would say I don't know, definitely am finding it interesting of what's going on, but I just don't feel anything. Like this is a book I'm reading. I don't know, I just don't feel anything really at the moment. So yeah. Well, we see the start of Alice becoming really a part of the strangeness occurring in our community. The way she is acting, she was complaining about headaches constantly. She still is constantly complaining about headaches, and she just seemed always tired, not wanting to spend time with. So when she got home and now she's happier, she claims it's something to do with a promotion at work, and she is spending more time with Nadaline, who's given her these strange pills to help her with her headache. Apparently she was told by a doctor she can take them, that it's safe for her as she is pregnant, and it should be fine for Soho's. Yeah, she's just acting quite oddly and unlike herself. She and So go to the hospital to visit Coraline, and they happen to run into Nadaline, who fell and needed to do some x-rays, make sure the baby's okay. And So went to visit Coraline on her own, and Coraline apparently was released from the hospital. And Alice wasn't there, neither was the car. And yeah, she tried to text she tried to text Alice. So, what's wrong with me? Alice claimed that her phone was dead, and then she did apparently text her, but she's trying to say that So deleted the text, and she comes home drunk, which is unlike her. And she then says maybe she deleted the text. I don't know, it's just weird. Yeah, there's that. And as well, Alice did start shopping at Trader Joe's food. It was a one-time thing, but Alice claims she will never shop there. And yeah, it's just suddenly she and So they're in a happy, good dynamic, and then suddenly she becomes a bit cold, and it's almost like a flip of the switch, which is quite interesting. And So she herself is worried that she's losing her mind with everything that's been happening, as well. Alice claims she mentioned the promotion, which she did, which we've seen she did. But So doesn't remember that she's worried that she's becoming an outcast, not only at work but in her own neighborhood, that she's becoming a laughingstock to them. And as well, she thinks she's having night terrors or in a sleepwalking, something that's not normal. She falls asleep on the couch and wakes up and is in the backyard digging. And it's quite strange. And yeah, we see how she hates being an outcast, or being the laughingstock, and that she was taught to stay out of the way, to be seen but not heard as a child, and I guess that's just been stuck with her all her life. And Alice has So hang out with Nadaline so that she's not alone. Not because of a previous that incident where Nadaline claims that the family So saw was dead, isn't dead, the paramedics said they would press charges, but they didn't. And Natalie saying, "Oh, if you only joined the homeowner association, we can ensure that doesn't happen again. If that ever happens again, like trying to force her to sign a damn contract, and she doesn't want to." And Natalie says that moving into the neighborhood anyway changed her and helped her heal her after her son died. There was this quote which was quite interesting on page 168 where Natalie says, "When you live in a community like this, you come to realize that everyone can be part of something greater, a greater good, a greater state of being. Even as dead stay a part of us long after they pass. You all take care of each other, And the way that was phrased, it's just like, this is a religion of sorts, something everyone believes, like you all come together when you lose someone that meant a lot to you, and it was just so quite strange the way it was phrased. And we see, while So's on her way back home, she stumbles upon the neighborhood kids in a forest, and they cut off a white part of the trees and to see them, so that was quite strange. And she does find the previous homeowner, whose husband fixed up the house after a fire, and the woman, she notes that they were expecting worse damage, but it was apparently not too bad. But she then mentioned that being in that house affected her children, as her daughter started having nightmares and her son started acting quite strangely. It changed him in a sense. It seems like he became more withdrawn when previously he was a happy, normal kid who liked to color. And now he rarely touches his coloring books. He was always digging in the backyard for some strange reason, and yeah. And so on her way home, goes and buys this shovel, and she digs up part of the backyard where she finds this box, and in the box there are loose leaves of paper, and there's a note on top saying that if she's reading these pages to leave, as this is an evil place, and that's where part 1 ends. And I'm just very much now curious on what are in those pages, what was left by the person who put that box in the ground. And yeah, I'm just writing as well for the moment that Alice convinces So to sign that damn contract, and it seems like So does have to basically sell her soul away to the devil from the way everyone's behaving, and when it's all just so strange. She'll become a part of this thing, and I said earlier it's religious. It also sounds a bit culty in a way. It's all really strange, so yeah. So yeah, I think that's all for now. I'm tired, so I'm gonna... It's the next day, and as you saw, I did go out today. I just went to this park in a neighboring town and had to go to a library. One, because there was some sort of like bookworm event. It looked like it was a fantasy thing going on. Nothing too interesting, and yeah, I just didn't film there just because I always feel uncomfortable filming people. That's just weird, honestly, to film people. But a lot of people were dressed up very interestingly and very very creatively. So yeah, and I also did some grocery shopping and whatnot. And I did do some reading of We Came to Homecoming. You put me on page 480, and things are definitely getting weird in this novel. We do learn the writer of the journal, he had similar symptoms to what So had when she first moved to the neighborhood, thinking she's gone insane, people knowing information they shouldn't, forgetting things, feeling like an outsider and wanting to become a part of something, or at least the feeling. And we are now again interspersed again the entries, and so she had a whole bunch of papers. Now she only has the one since Alice found those papers and threw them away, thinking they were trash. It seems like Alice is definitely becoming more and more a part of the community, because Corinne, the neighbor of Zoe and Alice, died, and at the wake, So notices that Natalie isn't there, and they both, Alice and another neighbor, Teresa, and so, oh, Nadeline's not good in funerals, the exact same words, and when So asks why they're like, oh, well, and not really saying more. It's something to do about her son who took his own life, and Nataline earlier used that as an example for people like So, people who are loners, they don't do well in that community, and So took it as the threat, and we do learn more information about the son, as there was a fire in the community, and it was revealed who set who set a fire to the house, and it was Sean, and that he killed himself that way, so yeah, there's that. And the plot-wise, more strange things, I guess, is the person who accused So of plagiarizing and tampered with her experiments leave So a voicemail informing her of her hearing and almost bragging that they went her career. And I have to say, my heart breaks for So in so many cases in this whole thing, is that she did everything she thought she had to do. She kept her head down, she did her work, and yet she was still perceived on the outside as what is leading people to judge her. There was a quote that even though she did what she did and she was very brilliant, it wasn't enough. And there's this quote on page 216 I really thought is accurate, in that I don't know, I like that, is that, will my worth always be predicted on how others perceive me? Will that perception always be clouded by my skin color, my gender, my sexuality? She almost snorted. Of course it fucking will. It's this, no matter how brilliant we are, how hard working we are, it's that people, they see surface level stuff and they make predictions on where someone goes. They have their own biases because of how someone is, the gender of that person, their sexual orientation, and broad details is what they use to make judgment about a person. They don't try to get to know a person. They don't look at what that person tried to accomplish. They don't even try to learn what a person has accomplished, and that's this so frustrating, because these judgments, because certain people are better because of their ways, because of their gender, it causes people to be overseen and looked down upon. Like with Alice, who worked her butt off to try and get the promotion at work, she was still looked down for this promotion because she's a Korean woman. So it's this, again, opportunities to advance in their fields, especially with them being women and them being people of color. It's difficult. So I mean, that's something that's just so frustrating. And so she's wondering if what would happen if she was different, or if she acted different, and seeing her feel like she doesn't belong anywhere in the lab, in the neighborhood. Hell, her PhD is the only thing that gave her credibility to her parents. And then, if she didn't have that, she wouldn't be good enough. So, is she worth it? Is she worth someone to care for her because for just who she is, for being this introverted woman? But you do see she does not get justice, but some good does happen to her when she gets this email informing her that this person, who I'm not even gonna name, the author does give him a name in his novel, but I don't want to give him a name. Like, he doesn't deserve that power to even be named. But he, for some reason, came forward and admitted to the tampering of her experiments and the paper that led to the accusation. And he later resigned when the community came together to decide his future at Yale. And yeah, his actions are, you can imagine, being written off as purely bigotry towards so. And yeah, we see how he doesn't really understand why he did what he did, as he does follow So when she's on her way back to the neighborhood after meeting with her friend, and she's wondering if she was targeted, who and why, if she was in charismatic less So. But the thing is, she notices that he doesn't look like himself. Typically, he's more put together and he's uniformed and whatnot. But when she sees him in the neighborhood, he's not okay. Like, he just looks like a whack, and he accuses her of somehow forcing him to confess. And we learned that he did what he did because her papers were accepted to this magazine, and his never were, and he just wanted a chance to have his oh my god, his papers put in the magazine, so he was eliminating the competition. Yet what he did wasn't just eliminating her competition, it did almost ruin her career, because plagiarism is a very huge accusation, especially in their field of work. And he was hearing buzzing and voices in his head, and he does try to attack her, as he did pull out a knife when a woman comes out of her house and tells him to leave, and he does, but he ends up in an accident that doesn't exactly make sense, because somehow he managed to crash into a tree. Like, it wasn't like he was speeding or being reckless, and somehow a branch broke off, and it went through the windshield and into his temple, killing him. So yeah, that was weird. And we learned from a neighbor, and he tells her about this collective grave that they keep for those who died in the neighborhood. They just don't have the room for everyone, and she stumbles upon this grave while on a tour of the collective gardens, and she thinks it is really taking away their names, making them part of this root system that Veronica and Corinne warned her about. That how, I mean, the root system kind of makes sense. It's really helping one another to survive or thrive, and everyone is the same, everyone moves the same, and becomes a part of a whole to be one organism. And apparently it's much more powerful than being yourself. So that's why they're part of this whole hormonal association thing. But yeah, and the thing with it is, I knew it was a dumb quote, is that while So is meeting with her friend Amir to show him the journal entry, he tells her of this cult that was from a century prior, called the Church of the Neighborhood, which had a very similar motto to the one in the neighborhood, and it's a very not low-key, but it's not very well known about, and he only knew about it from a passage in some old book he found in a thrift store, and there was not a lot of information about him online, except, and only like someone who was able to escape from this cult, who went on a bit of a rampage, and and we learn of in the journals of this one house where you can get away from the buzzing, and it's of a tree that's much darker, and yeah, I don't know, so far with that one it seems like the neighborhood was trying to swallow up or someone in the neighborhood was trying to, as they want to become a part of this root system, and with Soul living there, she's already part of it, so the neighborhood, which the fact that the tree fell, it's like the ghosts of those in the neighborhoods pass, or I don't know if the neighborhood's like this living entity that's just looking out for its neighbors, but it's just also freaking strange. Like, I'm just like, how is this gonna accumulate, and why? Just wondering what the hell is going on. That's all. And yeah, I think that's all for now. And since it is Saturday, that also means it's the end of this video. So if you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment below telling me what you've been up to recently. If you want to, please subscribe to my channel. And if you want to follow me on any social media, then all those links are in the down bar below. I'll see you guys next time I post a video. Bye.